Enough about exercise. I just wanted to make the last slide in the symptom support is about sleep. Non-restorative sleep is one of the most common complaints across the board in patients with ME/CFS and fibromyalgia, for that matter. It's probably the least studied and understood. It's often very difficult to treat, and sometimes we could work too hard and can overkill, too many meds, trying to sleep too much, but those things don't necessarily improve the restorative nature, the quality of sleep. So my general guidance is to keep working at it, use the least medication possible, try to direct your therapy at causes of sleep disruption. If your pain is disrupting, or if your legs jump, if you have apnea or racing thoughts or urinary frequency, try to get to the bottom of what it is that's disrupting your sleep and aim your interventions that way. And over time, you want to move away from the medications toward behavioral management, doing the things that help you sleep more restoratively. And this includes pacing and managing your mental health, managing the pain, so you can see how everything goes together. And if you remember my patient with the IV fluids, one of the first things to come back when he had treated his orthostatic intolerance was the quality of his sleep. So I put this slide in at the end to remind us that what we definitely need to work for in our research is understanding the primary mechanisms of illness. And I think, to me, the two most promising global areas that we need to work toward to understand the underlying physiology of the illness is the role of infection or autoimmune illness or immune dysfunction, that whole category of illnesses, and how the HPA axis plays a role in this illness. We have medications that are expensive and aren't well established in the literature, that have anecdotal we have growing evidence, but not enough to recommend them globally. And the biggest problem with all the medications that we use are extremely costly and probably have some toxicities. So that's, as Andy was talking about, why we, as a group, we prioritized mostly in this area, that we want bigger studies, better science to help us understand these immune mechanisms. And then an area of my personal interest is that we really want to understand how stress and the illness and sleep and all the components of this illness play a chicken and the egg role in the HPA axis. And I put this up here in part because there are a lot of providers in the U.S. that are giving people hormones to treat all of their symptoms. And I think that we really need to buff up the science and understand if these things work and if they're safe in the long term, and how that impacts the prognosis with this illness. So in summary, here is our picture, right? We have a very complicated illness, but even though it's complicated, we can sort of take a bite out of it a little at a time by trying to identify comorbid conditions and pacing and treating those major symptoms, and each one of those makes sense in this picture of how they all fit together. So that's basically what I wanted to bring to you today, and I'd be happy to take some questions. This is definitely a complex, debilitating illness, and I believe that science will change our ability to manage day-to-day, the future recovery in terms of diagnosis and treatment. And my goal is that we can have early diagnosis and actually prevention of this illness in the future.
Can you hear me, Cindy? This is Ellie.
I can, and I didn't see that instruction to turn down my mic, so I hope that was okay.
Oh, okay. That was an amazing talk. I think you just did the impossible.